guys, and welcome to Odds-On Europa League quarterfinals, first leg. Hello, Alvaro Romeo,
Ciao,
Dani
ciao.
Fisichella. Let's analyze, of course, these 4 games we have on Thursday. Remember, guys, as always, leave your comments, press the like, subscribe, tell us your bets, your tips for these 4 games. We have an exciting Europa League, actually. So let's jump into the first game. The early kickoff, actually 6:45 in Central European time in Holland, for instance, is Feyenoord Roma, with Feyenoord as favorite according to the bookies. Perhaps this is because Dani, Roma, their away record is very poor. Only 1 victory away in this Europa League. It was in Helsinki. We saw them suffering away in every single tie. They won finally in Torino this weekend, but also because Feyenoord is very strong playing at home, Dani, we can see these odds, I guess, Feyenoord as favorite.
And Feyenoord knocked out Lazio of the Europa League earlier this year, so that's a good omen for them. I think both sides, compared to last season Conference League final when they met, Roma won 1-0 thanks to Zaniolo, are stronger, both sides. I think Roma still is the strongest side. Feyenoord has changed many players year in and year out, but they maintain that attacking prowess. They are the top scorers of the Europa League, not by chance. 7 goals scored against Shakhtar. They play with a 4-3-3. They got a good players, especially up front and quick. But Roma are the masters of the tight margins, are the masters of the 1-0, of the 2-0. 17 clean sheets this season, the 1-0 win against Torino is not by coincidence. When they look like a Mourinho side, they are very, very, very difficult to beat. And this season, they've added the quality of Paulo Dybala. It can change games. He scored 11 goals in Serie A already, Dybala. Okay, a couple were penalties, but it's really make them step up. And Mourinho is using his formation wisely. He's giving Abraham a little bit of rest, playing with a little bit more Belotti. The return of Wijnaldum is so important in midfield. They are a side that cannot be underestimated in this Europa League. They got that strong mentality. Look, I think this is going to be a very tense game because there is previous history between Feyenoord, Roma, their supporters, you know, and all these kind of things. It's always a very difficult environment going to the De Kuip, also especially recently in the league. There have been incidents between Ajax and Feyenoord, etc. It's going to be very tense. Also because these two teams know that winning it, they got a very big chance to make it to the final. The winner plays either Leverkusen or Union, so they are in the weaker side of the draw compared to Manchester United, Juventus, etc. I'm gonna look for an under here, under 2.25 goals, so a typical Mourinho style game, 186, under 1 goal in the first half, 170. But if you want to be a little bit more speculative, you can look at the booking and the cards market. Last year in the final in Tirana, there were 5 bookings. When Feyenoord played Lazio in the decisive game of the Europa League group stages this year, there have been 8 bookings and a red card. So if you go for over 5.5 cards, that pays 238, a little bit less if you go for over 4.5 cards. But I think this is going to be tense and it's going to be tight. So those are my tips.
And we know for sure that Roma are going to try to keep it very low and under. As Dani said, they are the kings of the low margins, and they went to San Sebastián, Alvaro. They drew, was a 0-0. They went to Salzburg, was a 1-0 defeat. They weren't able to score. They were really defensive, just trying to control the game and not conceding goals.
Yeah, I agree with you, Edu. The sentence, it's tight margins for Roma. Marginal gains, of course, this is something that Jose Mourinho likes a lot, and despite not having an away goal rule, he knows that getting something away from home, it will be very beneficial for them, and he will try to wrap it up and to kill it off in the second leg. That's why Daniele mentioned under 2.25 goals. You know, I'm going to be even slightly more conservative. I will go for under 2.5 goals, which pays 163, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I think that there are plenty of reasons to support Roma not conceding many goals. In fact, this season, they have had 17 clean sheets in all competition, which is a textbook Jose Mourinho. And also because if you remember the last stages of the Conference League last year, when it came to the big games, Roma got clean sheets, one after another, after beating this very side in the UEFA Conference League final, because they beat Feyenoord and they didn't concede a goal either. So I think that when it comes to preparing individual games, Jose Mourinho is still a fantastic tactician, and his trademark is to make sure that his team doesn't concede. Of course, at San Sebastian, for example, they should have conceded, but it's not Roma's fault that Real Sociedad's striker is Sorloth. You know what I mean? If Sorloth misses those ones, what can you do? What can you do? I think that Feyenoord is a fine side. They will be somehow benefited by the fact that there will be no away supporters in this game, but then they will be affected by the fact that they are not away supporters in the reverse fixture in the second leg. But Feyenoord are on course to win their first league title in years. They won 5-1 in the weekend. They concede on average less than a goal per game in the league, at least. Then they've got, or they are the Europa League top scorers with 21 goals, even though 5 of the 8 contenders remaining come from the Champions League. So this stat, well, I'll put an asterisk on top of them, but they have scored many goals in the Europa League, that's for sure. And they got probably the most impressive result of the Europa League to date, which is a 7-1 of Shakhtar. So, you know, they are a good side. And then the striker who came from Cruz Azul, Jimenez, has scored 18 goals in all competitions. But I think that the tactics of Jose Mourinho are going to prevail in this game. I am taking sides for Jose Mourinho's Roma, so I'm going for the under 2.5 goals. And without going too crazy, I think that the clean sheet for Roma, paying 3.3, is not such an speculative thing. I do believe that Roma is capable of keeping it scoreless for Feyenoord over there in the Netherlands.
Okay, actually, Feyenoord, they've won 3 games at home in this Europa League. They only drew against Midtjylland, but Roma still, they are favorites to qualify. 1.7, Roma to qualify, Feyenoord 2.2, as you said, no away supporters. I remember, for instance, Feyenoord supporters destroying the fountain in Piazza España, Dani, when we saw this type some years ago.
Famous.
La Barcacha,
Famous.
exactly, in the
nice,
Piazza España.
Not for the animals. So anyway, let's leave it.
Well, let's jump into the next game. As Dani said, this is the weaker side of the draw because the winner of Feyenoord Roma is going to face Leverkusen or Union Saint-Gillois. Also, both teams are playing the whole Europa League tournament with Bayer Leverkusen. Great favorites to win this game because Alvaro, this is a completely new team. Sometimes we see changes of managers and nothing changes. Everything goes even wrong. But with Xabi Alonso, this is a completely different team. They are now in European spots in the Bundesliga. It was a turn around when they beat Monaco away and they qualified for the previous round where they beat Ferencváros. Whereas Union Saint-Gillois, not many people knew them before starting this competition, but they are second in the Belgian league. You did. You have a good friend in Brussels. Exactly.
Yes, I know all about them.
But they are a surprise. They are not European pedigree. Alvaro, how do you see this Leverkusen Union Saint-Gillois?
Well, I think that Xabi Alonso is definitely having a very positive impact in the Bayer Leverkusen. You know, some mid-season appointments or managerial changes don't work, but some others do. And for example, in Spain, we have seen Carlos Carvajal, in England, Unai Emery, or even in Germany, Xabi Alonso working and getting the best of the squad they've got. I think that the fact that Bayer Leverkusen scores plenty of goals is something that is going to mark this tie quite a lot, because I do believe that Bayer can score here, and I am aware that Royal Union Saint-Gillois has been really good in this Europa League, not only because they eliminated Union Berlin, and also because they topped the group playing against them, also because they've got players like Victor Boniface, who has scored 5 goals in the Europa League alone, and that shouldn't be overlooked. And it's a good season for them, definitely. They are looking to win their first league title since 1935. It's been a long time for a club that has won more than 10 league titles in Belgium, but it's been a long time they haven't won it. So their season is top-notch. That has to be said. But Bayer Leverkusen is a different thing. I think that, for example, against Monaco, we saw the real danger of this side. They are a side who can score many goals. They are a side that if you play box-to-box football, they will get the better of you. And if you are going to have a fight, fist fight with no gloves with Bayer Leverkusen, at least in this level, in Europa League level, they are going to get the better of you. So that's why I'm going to back Bayer Leverkusen to score over 1.5 goals in this game. It pays 173. And there is another combination that I like a lot here. Leverkusen to win and over 1.5 goals in this game. That pays 190. And I am totally aware that Patrick Schick is going to be out for the game most likely. But still, I think Bayer Leverkusen at home should make it.
Is your friend in Brussels, Dani, confident about Royal Union Saint-Gillois?
No, it's not, but he is enjoying the ride, and there's been a great ride that started in August with a win against Rangers in the preliminary round of the Champions League. Then they lost 3-0 at Ibrox. Bayer Leverkusen, completely transformed by Xabi Alonso, who also made them very solid at the back. 6 wins in a row, as you mentioned, minus 5 goals, 5 points from Lipsia. Currently the third best attack in Bundesliga. Diaby, one of the most informed players at the moment, 4 goals and 4 assists in Europa League. Without mentioning, of course, Florian Wirtz, still a teenager, is going to become such a great player. Frimpong, Hincapie, Bayer Leverkusen are a strong side, but Union Saint-Gillois never lost away in the Europa League. I know they drew 1-1 at the weekend against Genk, but I think they really can win the league, because look how far down below are Bruges in the Belgian league, and they came second to Bruges last season. So I think they're going to win silverware this year. And I think the good things about Union Saint-Gillois, they got goal scorers, the likes of Boniface, Adingra. They got a very good system, play with 3-5-2, the 2 wing backs really attacking. The problem is they maybe, obviously, they haven't got a very deep squad, but they should not be underestimated. So the issue with Bayer Leverkusen is to underestimate them, don't have enough motivation to play against a side that hasn't got a strong pedigree. For Union Saint-Gillois to win the Europa League, it pays 31, so they are considered the weakest side. But I think they can give Bayer Leverkusen a surprise. I think Bayer Leverkusen are going to win this one, but it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I wouldn't be shocked if Union Saint-Gillois scores a goal at least. Asian handicap minus 0.75 for Bayer Leverkusen. I think they're going to win. If they win by 1 more than a goal difference, you win the full stake. They just win by 1 goal difference, maybe 2-1. You win half your stake. The odds are decent. 184.
Leverkusen to qualify 1.44. Really favorites. Union Saint-Gillois 3.4, but they've already upset Union Berlin, for instance, in the previous round. So be careful, don't rule them out. The same we can say about Sporting Lisbon. Of course, they knocked out Arsenal in the previous round in the penalties, and now they have another difficult one. They have to go to Torino to play against Juventus. Dani, Juve, they lost at the weekend. Vlahovic is not scoring enough. They've also disappointed us in the Copa game against Inter. So even if they are delivering some good games, they are not unbeatable. They are far from being unbeatable. Whereas Sporting also, they are out, for instance, of the Champions League spots in their competition. Do you see danger for Juventus, or you don't have any doubts that they are going to qualify?
I see danger. See a lot of danger. They've already been beaten twice by Benfica. Sporting are weaker than Benfica, but they play a similar style of football. They got pacey players that can take players on. I cannot underestimate Sporting, a team that scored 3 against Arsenal and eliminated them. Arsenal have been magnificent this season. And I know they are 4th in the league, Sporting. They won the last game. A bit lucky, the 3 goals from Trincao. They won 4-3. So they do concede quite a lot of goals. But I think they got the skills and they got the pedigree to go to Turin and stick a goal or 2 into Juventus net. The problem with Juventus is that we know they are solid. I think Allegri has found the right balance in midfield with Locatelli in front of the defense, Rabiot pushing forward, so good legs there. Still uncertain who's the best partner for Vlahovic up front. Vlahovic doesn't help himself sometimes. His way they controls the ball, he holds the ball is not great, but also Juventus are not providing many assists for him, not many crosses, despite having Kostic, who's one of the best crosser of the ball. So they need to change the way they play. Maybe playing alongside Milik might help him, as he did last season when he had Morata to take a little bit of the weight of his shoulder. But Juventus, for sure, they need to play better. In the last two games against Inter and Lazio, the goals were fortuitous, lucky from episodes, chances, not really play very well. Lazio outplayed them in the first half, and Juventus should have conceded more goals. So, they haven't won many big games either, Juventus, this season. They won twice against Inter. They lost to Napoli. They didn't beat Roma. They won Lazio and then they lost. They lost to Milan. So in the Champions League, they were very poor. Okay, against Fribourg, a little bit better. But I think there is a risk for Juventus to underestimate this game and not be fired up. But, as things stand, they're still sixth in Serie A. Both to score for me, 220. Sporting doesn't defend particularly well, but they got good attacking players. And Sporting on the Asian handicap plus 0.75, 182, which means if they win, you win. If they draw, you win. If they lose by only 1 goal margin, you only lose half a stake. I don't think they're going to get trashed in Torino. So these are my two best picks.
Juventus, they couldn't beat Nantes, for instance, in the playoff round.
Although they had millions of chances at home, and they had a goal disallowed. But yeah, they're not been spectacular. No.
And the Sporting on the other side, Alvaro, we've seen them also in the Champions League. They had a tricky group, and they are playing on the front foot against any team, actually.
Well, in the Champions League, they had options of qualifying for the last 16 round until the last day. Then they fell in the Europa League and they beat one of the overwhelming favorites to win the competition. And the truth is that Arsenal were better maybe in the extra time of that second leg at the Emirates, but the Sporting Club Portugal were very competitive as well. And I don't want to take anything away from Ruben Amorim's side. For this game, there is a very key player who is unavailable for Sporting, Ugarte, the Uruguayan international, and this is quite sensitive for Sporting Club Portugal because this Ugarte has been probably one of the most important referential players in the team this season. But on the other hand, a player is missing, but another one is stepping up because Trincao scored a hat-trick in the weekend. I never thought that I was going to say something like this in 2023. Trincao has scored a hat-trick, but he has. And, kudos to him. Hopefully he will take this form for April and May, and he will keep on just fulfilling his potential, because I think that he's got a little bit of that, but he needs to have more electricity, because so far I think that he has been in his career a player who was waning too much and a little bit weak. Sporting Club de Portugal has a player that I think he's not going to last long in there. In the same way that Pedro Porro left to Tottenham, I think that Nuno Santos, one of the best left back, not only in the Portuguese league, but in European football, I think that he will leave soon. And, hopefully he will make a good service for Sporting Club Portugal until he departs. For Juventus, look, they won since January 7 games by a 1-0 margin, and a 1-0 against Sporting Club Portugal would be satisfactory enough for La Vecchia Signora. Daniele, I don't know if Di Maria will be featuring, but he has been stepping up in the Europa League for Juventus, and one of the reasons why Juve is in this round is thanks to Di Maria.
I think Di Maria is key for Juventus. He's the quality, he's the spark, but unfortunately he's inconsistent. We know his physical problem, but he's been, when he's there, he's by far the best player, and I will put in the top 3 of best players in Serie A for sure.
Well, he might step up for this game as well, because he's been doing it for Juve in the Europa League. Look, I'm gonna go for Juventus to win 187. I'm going to back them just for what I said before. 1-0 win is a common result for Juventus this season, and they got 7 in 2023. And the truth is that I think that at home they can make it, but then I wouldn't be too sure about Juventus qualifying. But that's another story, and I don't need to go there. But I would like to take everything with a pinch of salt anyway. So apart from Juve winning, I think that I could water it down a little bit and just get an Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Juventus too, meaning that if they draw, you suffer half a lose, which is not a lot. But if they win, you win 160. So I'm going to go for that one, and I'm going to keep that one for Mayaca, in fact. Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Juventus.
Okay, actually 160 is also the odds for Juve to qualify, 2.75 for Sporting. We have Leverkusen, Juventus, big favorites against Royal Union Saint-Gillois and Sporting. And of course, the overwhelming favorite to win the competition, Man United, 2.5 for the Red Devils to win the Europa League, 1.43 to beat Sevilla at home. And I don't know if anyone wouldn't take these odds, Alvaro, because United, they are so strong at home. They won 8 out of the last 9 games at Old Trafford. And Sevilla, they are so poor when they are traveling. Also in Europe, they lost to PSV and Fenerbahce, but also in La Liga, despite the victory against Cádiz. Difficult not to trust United, no? Playing at home. Also, we've seen them beating Spanish sides this year in the Europa League.
They have done it. They have done it, of course. They didn't get the better of Real Sociedad in the group stage, but then they beat Betis. And, you know, the truth is that they deserve to go through against Betis. But in the same way that in the previous La Liga video, I wasn't able to bet in favor or against Sevilla, I'm going to keep this policy here as well, because they got a new manager, Mendilibar, and it's been working so far with Mendilibar. I mean, they got a win against Cádiz, and beating Cádiz is not easy right now in La Liga. That was the debut of Mendilibar as Sevilla manager. And then this weekend, they drew 2-2 with Celta, but Sevilla played 71 minutes with one man down. And still, they got a 2-2 draw against Celta, and Celta could only get the equalizer in the extra time of the second half. So betting on Sevilla is difficult for me right now. I think that the odds are a little bit excessive to start with, because Sevilla to win pays 9. That said, I understand that Manchester United is the favorite, and I agree with that. But I think that the odds are a little bit disproportionate to my taste. Anyway, I would like to see how Sevilla expresses with a new coach in Europe. This coach is more respected than Sampaoli to start with, because Sampaoli was a manager that the Sevilla players didn't want anymore. And Fernando last week said that with Mendilibar is playing the way Sevilla should be playing. So that was not only a good message for Mendilibar, but a bad message for Sampaoli as well. Sevilla hasn't lost a game with Mendilibar yet. It's only 2 games. I'm aware of that. And there is a player that is standing out, in my opinion, and Nesiri. He's scoring plenty of goals after the World Cup, and I think that he could be a dangerous asset for Sevilla coming into this tie. But it's still wait and see with Sevilla. That's why I'm not committing for the full-time market. I could go, for example, for an Asian handicap corners minus 2.5 for Manchester United. It pays 166, and I like this one because I think Manchester United is going to storm into this game. In the same way they did it against Everton, by the way, they produced 21 shots against Everton in the first half last Saturday, which is the all-time record for Manchester United since this is recorded. The record of this started in 2003. So I can see Manchester United having plenty of chances at the beginning. So the corners market is something I'm going to back for the Red Devils. In the same way that I can back an Asian handicap plus 1.5 for Sevilla. For example, Sevilla may lose it, but not so heavily. That pays 1.8. For Manchester United, a couple of things before I let Daniele speak. Number one, they lost against Newcastle a week ago, but they have corrected their situation with 2 good wins. One against Brentford. It was a little bit scruffy, but they did it in midweek, and now they beat Brentford 2-0 in the weekend. Bruno Fernandes is playing deep, but I think that with Eriksen coming back, which he did against Everton, Bruno Fernandes is going to play again pretty much as number 8, number 10, and the player who is not going to play is Marcus Rashford. Sadly for Manchester United, he picked an injury. He's going to be out probably until late April or early May. And the striker, I don't know who's going to be. Maybe Martial, who's back. But still, this is a massive blow for Manchester United because Marcus Rashford has scored this season so many goals. Only Mbappe and Erling Haaland have scored more goals than Marcus Rashford in the 2022-2023 season.
Do you have also, Dani, this cautious approach to this game? Alvaro saw Bono as the star of the team because if Man United are going to storm Sevilla, but Sevilla is going to hold the result, what do you think, Dani?
The absence of Marcus Rashford is key because he's been a transformed player and it's been the difference to Man United this season compared to last season. He was in such a good form after the World Cup. But the good things about Man United, they seem to have plan B, plan C, plan D. They do change personnel, formation, make a lot of tactical switches during games, and they often work. So Manchester United under Den Haag have been, yes, a work in progress, and sometimes the performances have not always been consistent. But if you take out the first couple of games that they lost and a 7-0 defeat to Liverpool, they've been really, really good all season long. They only lost 2 games since January. 3-2 to Arsenal was the other defeat. They are solid. They keep the ball well. And the return of Eriksen definitely going to help them managing the midfield and the possession much better. And I think after having faced 3 Spanish opposition, Sevilla on paper is the weakest of all the Spanish teams they face so far. They should be considered a favorite, although we know Sevilla is a team that came from the Champions League. So was Barcelona, by the way. They got the best home defense in the Premier League. Manchester United only 8 goals conceded. They don't score as many goals as they should for the amount of chances they produce, only the 6th home attack in the Premier League. But Sevilla away record, we did mention it before, it's awful. They are 12 in the away table in the Liga, conceded 26 goals away. Let's see how they do with Mendilibar, who worked out a miracle with Eibar. He was there like for 6-7 years, and he was a very, very good manager. I think if Manchester United are going to win, it's going to be by a small margin. I wrote down Manchester United to win 2-0 to 30, but that was before I checked that Marcus Rashford wasn't there. Maybe you might want to go for an Asian handicap -1 for Manchester United. Okay, but I stick to my previous one. Manchester United to win 2-0 to 30.
And one thing, Edu, in the City to score, by the way, 4.5. I have broken down his run. He's playing very well. 4.5 is a lot of money.
Moroccan power in Sevilla with Bono and with El Nesiri, the goalkeeper and the striker. Man United to qualify 1.22, Sevilla to qualify 4.9. As I've mentioned, we have 4 big favorites actually in these 4 ties. As I've already asked you in the Champions League video, which are going to be the teams qualifying for the semifinals. For the Europa League, Dani, which teams do you see in the penultimate round?
Roma, Bayern, Leverkusen, and Sporting Club de Portugal, Manchester United.
Your Inter heart to tell you.
No, I mean, they have to be otherwise the Italian team's going to win it all. I want to leave something else to other people. I think Sporting Club are a very good side.
Alvaro?
I'm going to go for Roma, Bayer Leverkusen, Sporting Club Portugal, and I'm going to say Sevilla.
Otherwise, it's the same as me. Otherwise, there is no fun.
Big surprises then for you, Sporting and Sevilla.
Well, I think Manchester United, the fight for the 4th spot in England is grueling. There are a lot of games that need to be played. They might slip up. Whereas Sevilla in the league, they play for nothing. So that could be.
Well, they play to stay in.
Well, of course.
For granted. Yeah. Tell me also in the comments, guys, which teams do you see in the semifinals in the comment section? And to finish the video, as we always do, also in this Europa League quarterfinals first leg video, Dani, your safe bet?
Feyenoord Roma, of course, under 2.5 goals, being a knockout tie with Mourinho involved. Bayer Leverkusen to win. Sporting Club de Portugal, Asian handicap +1.5. Manchester United to beat Sevilla. Total odds 5.48.
Okay, this is your ACCA and your safe bet then?
Sorry, that's my ACCA. The safe bet, Feyenoord, Roma, double chance X2.
Okay. We have already a spoiler for Dani's ACCA. Alvaro, first your safe bet.
My safe bet, it could be Asian handicap -0.25 for Juventus, 160. And my ACCA, I'm going to leave out of it Manchester United Sevilla for the reasons I told you before. Sevilla has a new manager. I'm curious about how that's going to pan out. My ACCA is Asian handicap +0.75 for Roma, Asian handicap 0.25 for Bayer Leverkusen, Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Juventus. Altogether 4.5.
Okay, if you want to know about the Asian handicaps, we have a video also in our channel in case you are confused about all these odds. Thank you, Alvaro. Thank you, Dani. See you very soon, guys. Remember, press the like, subscribe, and bye-bye. Good luck.
Ciao.
See you.